Hello and welcome to Red Pill 2020, where the light penetrates the dark corners of the mindset, fostering corruption and injustice.
We're here today to talk about security precautions we're taking to protect the safety of people around Capitol Square leading up to our rally plan for this coming Monday. I believe wholeheartedly in the constitutional right of citizens to come to their state representatives and make their views known. I also believe in the right to debate and the right to assemble. And I believe in the right to bear arms. But what we have seen and heard in recent weeks has the potential to go far beyond these constitutionally protected rights. We are seeing threats of violence. We're seeing threats of armed confrontation and assault on our Capitol. So we are taking the following actions to keep people safe in Capitol Square and in the city of Richmond. First, we have established a unified command between the state police, the Capitol Police, the Richmond Police Department, and our first responder teams. Second, we are asking non-essential personnel not to come to work on Monday. And third, no weapons will be allowed on the Capitol grounds. This includes everything from sticks and bats to chains and projectiles. This list also includes firearms. It makes no sense to ban every other weapon but allow firearms when intelligence shows a threat of armed militia groups storming our Capitol. To enforce this, I am declaring a state of emergency in Richmond from Friday evening until Tuesday night. Everyone should understand this is based on real, identified threats that have been made. I have made this decision in the interest of keeping the public safe as well as our law enforcement officers.
So let's get this straight and let's break this down to the known facts. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has declared a state of emergency. That is a fact. He claims to believe citizens plan to exercise their rights and an insurrection of some type may take place. This is a significant event. It's the tip of the iceberg to what I believe is the inevitable destination of our country. It is a test run on martial law. And martial law is the law applied in occupied territories by the military authority of the occupying power, or, as in this case, the law administered by military forces that is invoked by a government in an emergency when its civilian law enforcement agencies are unable to maintain public order and safety. We can split hairs about the word military, but in this Orwellian world of wordplay, we can all see clearly that our civilian police force has in fact been militarized. Another fact is federal funds have been given to states, counties, and cities specifically for the use of militarization. The plans the governor announced were not just thrown together. There is a number of plans that exist in the government war chest. They await their moment to be brought out into fruition. It is my belief that the future holds an event of national martial law. I used to think that I would not live to see that particular day. But, as with other developments, I'm beginning to think otherwise. At the very consideration of my statement, some will dismiss me as a conspiracy theory nut, while others may feel anxiety. Unfortunately, there will also be those who will feel joy in the fantasy that they may someday witness a utopia state where guns are only in the hands of government authorities. Let us begin by breaking down what we know the government said. There are 4 facts that can be established. A unified command, which brings together several government armed agencies to follow orders from a central command structure. He says that he has asked non-essential government employees not to come to work. He declares a rule that no weapons will be allowed on state grounds. Although he did not enumerate the 4th action, it's the biggest action of all. He has declared a state of emergency. After listing the 3 actions he was taking, he stated, and I quote, "To enforce this, I am declaring a state of emergency," end quote. There are a number of other things that he said, but the other things he said are not essential to the actions that he announced. When considering any politician's actions, we must look at their actions separately from their words. I'm not saying that all the other stuff he said has no meaning. To the contrary, the other things do mean a lot. But if you have taken the red pill, you have the ability to compartmentalize your thoughts and properly analyze exactly what is happening. At this moment in time, the only thing that most of us know for certain is what the governor has said. Certainly, there is more to know, but from a first-hand view, nobody will ever know everything that's going on, and nobody will know everything that is possible or is potential, not even the governor. If we are to take the governor at his word, we must first look at the 4 things he said he was going to do. And giving him the benefit of the doubt, I do believe that he is putting his 4 items into action. Let's take a look at his statement again, and let's filter out anything else that he may say regarding the reasons for his actions. Just for a moment, I want you to see, and I want you to agree that the 4 items I have mentioned are the only items that are claims of what he is doing.
We're here today to talk about security precautions we're taking to protect the safety of people around Capitol Square leading up to a rally plan for this coming Monday. I believe wholeheartedly in the constitutional right of citizens to come to their state representatives and make their views known. I also believe in the right to debate and the right to assemble. And I believe in the right to bear arms. But what we have seen and heard in recent weeks has the potential to go far beyond these constitutionally protected rights. We're seeing threats of violence. We're seeing threats of armed confrontation and assault on our Capitol. So we are taking the following actions to keep people safe in Capitol Square and in the city of Richmond. First, we have established a unified command between the state police, the Capitol Police, the Richmond Police Department, and our first responder teams. Second, we are asking non-essential personnel not to come to work on Monday. And third, no weapons will be allowed on the Capitol grounds. This includes everything from sticks and bats to chains and projectiles. This list also includes firearms. It makes no sense to ban every other weapon but allow firearms when intelligence shows a threat of armed militia groups storming our Capitol. To enforce this, I am declaring a state of emergency in Richmond from Friday evening until Tuesday night. Everyone should understand this is based on real, identified threats that have been made. I have made this decision in the interest of keeping the public safe as well as our law enforcement officers.
Before we look at the justification comments he has woven into his announcement, let's discuss the actions that he's announced. From a legal standpoint, he must claim a state of emergency in order to receive the benefit of doubt from the courts in the event anyone would seek an injunction against the other things that he said he was going to do. If he didn't do this, the courts could possibly be petitioned and issue an order that could prevent him from suspending the law. As the head of state, he has the authority and legal responsibility to protect the state and the citizens of the state. He has the right to declare martial law, which is actually what state of emergency means in this particular case. The play on words eludes our mind as we may relate to natural disasters, which, when declared with a state of emergency, is not necessarily the same thing. That particular type of state of emergency is a legal declaration to activate funds and spending authorizations that, have been set aside for emergency services by a particular law, like they use with FEMA. This situation is not the same thing. This situation is not a reaction to something that has already occurred, but a preemptive action for what he claims might occur. I don't know what the real potential is for the catastrophe that the governor fears may happen. Right now, I just want to lock down the fact that he has declared a preemptive form of martial law, and he did so in a legal fashion, stating exactly how long the status of martial law would take place and the geographical area in which the martial law was going to have jurisdiction. He also stated the specific rule being imposed by the martial law. If the things he intended to do were legitimate under normal statutory law, he would not have to declare anything. Statutory law is enforceable every single day. Statutory law requires a legislative act passed by an elected representative and is not put into action by the whim of the emperor. However, martial law, under the doctrine of the law of necessity, allows a temporary set of laws that could not possibly be enacted in a timely manner through the legislative process. More importantly, such laws of necessity are seldom constitutional. Laws declared under martial law are temporarily constitutional when enacted, as long as the reasoning can be justified at a later date. The credibility of the governor can be preserved. Now let's get number 2 off the table. He has said that he asked non-essential government employees not to come to work. But in reality, he ordered that non-essential government employees do not come to work. What reasons, other than his claimed reasoning, could he have ordered this action? First, he does not need a reason. He's well within his authority under statutory law to give his government employees time off at any time he wishes. He can order that the time off be paid or unpaid. And the only consequence that he would face would be complaints from the public regarding the lack of service those particular employees may provide, and maybe even complaints from the government employees if they lost any pay or benefits due to his orders. Those of us who work in the private sector would likely lose pay for not working, just that simple, regardless if it was ordered by the boss or not. Again, I give the governor the benefit of the doubt that he has a legitimate reason to spend tens of thousands of dollars for employees not to work and for citizens not to have access to whatever services may be dependent upon those workers. I do not know exactly what non-essential means. It sounds ambiguous, and really at this point, who cares? Well, I do. And so should you. If I am to be objective here, while I do not have all the facts, I need to consider other possible reasons he could have decided to give his employees time off. Not asking, but ordering. Paid days off from the boss always promote popularity for the boss. Paid days off always promote loyalty and appreciation for one's continued employment. Missing government workers only punish citizens. It does not take much of a spin for the blame to be placed on the so-called people who caused the emergency, as most people completely lose track of the fact that the governor's declaration of the state of emergency is the cause. The governor specified exactly what the actions would be. Let us not forget, at this point in time, we have not actually seen with our own eyes any condition of emergency. Not that an emergency may not be possible, but one has certainly not occurred yet. Public perspective creates an erroneous logical deduction that this must be serious if he had shut down parts of his government. I am not saying I have any evidence that any of the alternative reasons I offer are valid, but I am saying that I have seen no evidence showing that the governor has any comprehensive reason to send non-essential employees home. Are their lives in danger? Are their lives of greater value than his essential employees, who, by the way, will be at work? I think it's obvious that the governor is counting upon our predictable minds to construct a false belief based upon illogical comments. I think he's insulting our intelligence. Eliminating item number 2, let's take a look at the other 2 actions. Now, item number 1, where he has consolidated his agencies, just as item number 2, he is well within his authority to do that. Actually, he can have his state agencies structured however he wishes. Heads of state usually like to keep these armed enforcement agencies separated, but because they are a danger to the state when under a central command. Now, what other reasons may he have for announcing number 3? Maybe he's only worried about his safety. Maybe since his essential employees will be at work, he would like to show them their privilege of being protected by all the government guns that he's called into action. And why does he extend his martial law through the entire city of Richmond? Could he be causing a false fear and looking for support from the citizens who may just agree with his actions to infringe upon citizens' rights? I certainly do not know all the facts, but as of now, I have not heard or seen much to establish what the truth really is. All I have seen is how politicians have behaved for the past 50 years. So, you tell me, what likelihood should I cling to while waiting to see more facts? Let's go to item number 3. This is the only action which really matters. It's the only action which requires martial law to enact. Given that the law allows citizens to have firearms and allows citizens to assemble, his so-called state of emergency declaration of martial law is required in order for him to make constitutionally protected activities an arrestable offense. Let's be realistic here. It also makes constitutionally protected activities something which could cause lethal force to be used against citizens. Now that we've analyzed the 4 items which the governor has announced, 2 of which mean something, 2 of which mean nothing, let's consider the other stuff that he crammed into his announcement. Let's consider the significance the comments have and what reasons he might have to make such comments. Before I do so, I'm going to ask you to watch the video again, and I want you to eliminate these 4 items from your mind so we can, set them aside and see all the other comments with unbiased clarity.
We're here today to talk about security precautions we're taking to protect the safety of people around Capitol Square leading up to our rally plan for this coming Monday. I believe wholeheartedly in the constitutional right of citizens to come to their state representatives and make their views known. I also believe in the right to debate and the right to assemble. And I believe in the right to bear arms. But what we have seen and heard in recent weeks has the potential to go far beyond these constitutionally protected rights. We're seeing threats of violence. We're seeing threats of armed confrontation and assault on our Capitol. So we are taking the following actions to keep people safe in Capitol Square and in the city of Richmond. First, we have established a unified command between the state police, the Capitol Police, the Richmond Police Department, and our first responder teams. Second, we are asking non-essential personnel not to come to work on Monday. And third, no weapons will be allowed on the Capitol grounds. This includes everything from sticks and bats to chains and projectiles. This list also includes firearms. It makes no sense to ban every other weapon but allow firearms when intelligence shows a threat of armed militia groups storming our Capitol. To enforce this, I am declaring a state of emergency in Richmond from Friday evening until Tuesday night. Everyone should understand this is based on real, identified threats that have been made. I have made this decision in the interest of keeping the public safe as well as our law enforcement officers.
We are here today to talk, he says. But the only thing true about that is that we are here today, but not to talk. They were here to announce, not to discuss, but to authoritatively impose martial law, period. He said he was taking security precautions. Security precautions? Like surveillance cameras and armed security officers? No. That would be more like a routine event. This case is no routine plan. He has skipped all the standard procedures and moved directly to martial law for security precautions. What is a security precaution? Throwing somebody in jail before they commit a crime? Or, suspending constitutional rights before a problem has actually occurred. Martial law is supposed to be a reaction to allow restoration of government order. Using it preemptively is not really a new government strategy, but it's kind of new to America. Other countries, which have been converted into dictatorships, were subjected to various degrees of martial law during government transition, which is routinely a time to round up opposition party members and dissenting civilians. Suddenly, expressing one's discontent become an arrestable offense. The governor expressed his belief in various constitutional rights. What purpose does his belief have in this announcement? It doesn't really matter what he believes. And this is not a time for such irrelevant comments to be stated. He can believe the sky is purple. He can believe that women don't have any rights. He can believe that the military should be transgender friendly. He might even believe that Pepsi's better than Coke. But it doesn't matter. Maybe it would matter if he ordered that Pepsi and Coke be handed out during lobby day. He has certainly not ordered that rights to bear arms be handed out, nor has he ordered that the right to assemble be handed out. To the contrary, the right to bear arms has been suspended, and the right to peaceful assembly has had a number of conditions imposed upon him. The governor is sworn to uphold the Constitution, and it's within his power to declare a state of emergency. His expression of his political beliefs is simply not relevant to the announcement, except to spin the minds of those who are not red pill equipped to see through the smokescreen. It is ironic that he would take an opportunity to express his political beliefs while at the same time make an announcement as to how he intends to deprive others of doing the same. Unfortunately, as with many things today, there are those who see clearly, but they still foster deception and corruption because they believe that the end justifies the means in support of their own beliefs. The thought that they actually support constitutional corruption will seldom enter their minds. The governor mentions the potential possibilities. Well, there are many things that have potential to happen. Since his announcement, a coincidental number of articles appeared making mention of the incident down in Charlottesville, South Carolina, where a car was driven into a crowd. Since when does an event which occurred somewhere else or even in the same exact place have any relevance as to one's constitutional rights? Had the right of the people in Charlottesville been suspended, would that have prevented the car from being driven into the crowd? Since when does the mere potential of a problem mean so little to those who wish to exercise their rights, but yet means so much to government officials that exercise preemptive reasoning to suspend citizens' rights? If a citizen thinks the risk is too great to exercise constitutionally protected rights and can't trust the government to provide protection while exercising their rights, they always have the choice simply not to participate in the rally. So let's get this straight and let's break this down to the known facts. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has declared a state of emergency. That is a fact. The governor says he is seeing threats to include armed violence and an assault on the Capitol. Why would he use the word see? Has he had a prophetic vision? has his seer or some member of his administration had a prophetic vision? The truth is, unless he has used a time machine, he has not seen anything. The word is being used purposely because what is seen is always more credible than what is heard. At the very least, he must actually mean he has read or heard, and he may even believe. But given his speechwriter's choice to use the word see, gives us a little hint as to the impression intended in the message. So let's get this straight and let's break this down to the known facts. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam has declared a state of emergency. That is a fact. He talks about weapons, sticks, bats, chains, projectiles. Anything is a weapon. And many things can be a projectile. My phone or camera can be a projectile. Will they take cameras at the rally? If so, would that require a suspension of property rights? That would require a suspension of the right to record public events. How would they know that an object is in somebody's pocket? Will they suspend the Fourth Amendment and search everyone without a search warrant? Will they call in TSA to assure that your constitutional assembly experience is just as enjoyable as your airport experience? Just how many rights will actually be infringed upon during this constitutionally protected activity? I guess we're going to see. Lastly, the governor reiterates that his decision was based on, and I quote, real identified threats, as opposed to what? False identified threats? Or real unidentified threats? Is the real threat directed at the governor's agenda, or is the real threat the governor's agenda itself? Well, there was an article about Charlottesville, and it was true that a neo-Nazi arrest did take place yesterday. So, is the coast now clear? There's just no way to know the details of this event, or how they relate to future events, or they may not relate at all. The only thing we know for sure is that the governor has suspended the right to bear arms, and has done so at a time when the very issue of that right is being attacked by the assembly. We also know that the governor is the leader of the majority party that is attacking that right in the assembly. I offered my opinion on several micro factors of this issue. Now I'm going to offer an all-encompassing opinion based upon the facts. I'm not going to spare anybody's feelings. I'm just going to say it the way it is and invite those who would disagree to comment before this rally takes place. Anybody can comment after they see what happens. I think the governor wants to use threat of force to shut down his political opponents. The declaration of martial law is excessive and, in this case, is designed to thin down the crowd by basically criminalizing the conduct of law-abiding citizens more than anything else. The disarming of the citizen will promote passivity. The false perception of a safer and gun-free zone will encourage those who believe in being disarmed to show up at the rally in much greater numbers, thereby diluting the unity of the citizens gathered in opposition. I think that he hopes to paint his own picture of a peaceful assembly and a very false perception of citizen support. I think he has abused his authority and overreached with a well-planned scheme to push his political agenda and to set a national example of how this is to be done. I also think he's a genius. I think the manner in which this event unfolds will have a great deal to do with how future events will unfold. I think that showing up at an event with diminished rights is like not showing up at all. Worse yet, showing up with less than 100% of your rights will create a false perception to observers that they are witnessing a constitutionally protected activity taking place, when in fact, they are not. When the Second Amendment is effectively diminished and law-abiding citizens are disarmed, the government will have the green light to infringe upon every other right with lightning speed. What do you think? To my veteran brothers and sisters and all peace and freedom-loving people, I wish you well. I look forward to responding to your comments. Please hit the like button below and subscribe to my channel.